If you've worked in Photoshop before, then you know that its design structure is based on a layer model, where each element can contain its own layer. And you can use that to your advantage in Final Cut because you can work with each layer separately. All right, so I have a few graphics here. This one has 2 layers, where Chocolat is on one layer and with Jean-Michel Carré is on another. And this one has 3 layers, where you have those 2 plus a background. So I'm going to start with this one, and let's just mark an in and an out in the timeline. And then we want to connect this, so I'll just press Q. All right, so we have our title, and we can see through to the video underneath. But if you take a look, you can see that this is sort of a stacked paper icon in the upper left, and here too, and then you see it down here in the timeline. This means that we can access each of those layers. So I'll double-click, and as you can see, we're looking at our 2 separate layers, okay? This highlighted portion is the portion that is in the sequence right now, so we're really only working right here. And I can treat these differently, however I want. I can animate them differently, I can apply different effects, I can apply motion effects to each layer and have this layer scale up and this layer rotate on, whatever I like. Well, there are a couple things that I want to do, and the first thing that I want to do is have them come on at different times, all right? So I want Chocolat to come on first, and then with Jean-Michel Carré to join it. Now, there is a little bit of a gotcha here. If you take a look at the structure of these 2 clips, you can see that this is a connected clip to this. See the little anchor point here? So if I move this, you can see that it takes it along with it. So if I wanted this to come on last, then I could ripple trim this, no problem. Okay, so we have this layer on, and then this one joins it. But that's kind of the reverse of what I want. Let me undo that, Command Z. Let me show you what happens if I try to ripple trim the bottom layer. Okay? Now remember, this highlighted portion is what's in the sequence, so we didn't accomplish what we wanted. Okay, we just have these extra frames hanging out over here. So I'll undo that, and let me just show you what you have to do in this situation. I'm going to have to create a tiny little gap clip here. So I'll just activate my position tool P and move this over, and I'll go back to my select tool A. And now I can move this over, and now it's anchored to the gap clip. So I'm in good shape now. I'm just going to go into trim mode T, and then roll this over like so. Okay, so now I have Chocolat coming on first, and then with Jean-Michel Carré is joining it later. Okay, so that's just a little bit of a gotcha for the structure within a layered graphic like this, that you might have to put a gap clip depending on what you want to have come on first and second and third and so on. All right, so I'm going to go back to my select tool A, and so we have this coming on how I want. Now I'm going to add some transitions. So I'm going to open up my transition browser, and I'm going to grab the veil. So this is what the veil transition looks like, okay? And so I'm going to add it to the beginning of this and the beginning of this. And we might roll this out a little bit more. And I think I'm going to just change the color of the veil to a nice chocolatey brown, I think. So we'll open up the inspector. And let's grab that color there. And I think I'm just going to copy and paste this. So Command C and then Command V. All right, and let's just play this right now. Okay, so now it's just over black, but if I go back to the main sequence, I'll go ahead and click on this arrow here. Let's play it. All right, so pretty simple here. I think I'll just move this over to go right above where Jean-Michel starts. And now we have a pretty simple animation, but it looks pretty nice. All right, but you can add as many effects as you want. Now I do want to draw your attention to just one thing that you might find pretty neat. I'm going to just make sure this clip is selected and then come to my video tab and then come down to compositing all the way at the bottom. And if I go to blend mode, there are so many options in here that you can try out. For example, if I choose Stencil Alpha, you'll notice that now I have the video inside of my letters, and I can scale this up if I want and see what sort of effect this looks like. All right, so that could be neat. I'll go ahead and undo that though, Command Z. I now want to talk about this graphic here, which does not have an alpha channel, so it doesn't have a transparent background like this. So if I mark an in and an out in the timeline and then connect this with Q, you can see that I can't see through to the layer underneath, okay? I can double click in here and I can see my 3 layers and I can animate them and add effects to them just as I could the other example. But this is what's preventing me from seeing the video underneath. So if you're provided a graphic that has an opaque background, it's super easy to work with because all I have to do is select this and press V to disable. And now it's not there. I can go out and I can see through to the video underneath, no problem. Okay, so very flexible, right? All right, so needless to say, taking advantage of each of the separate elements within a layered Photoshop file is really easy in Final Cut, and you have some pretty nice control working in this fashion.